Have you been told you're too much, you're too different? You might be a cycle breaker. A cycle breaker is someone who changes traditions and family beliefs and emotional trauma that runs in the family. I am Christina Heike. I'm an author, speaker, teacher, and the founder and CEO of Soul Science LLC, where we heal emotional trauma at its root through science-backed and soul-aligned methods to bring you into your peace, power, and presence. I work with highly sensitives, creatives, entrepreneurs, and families so that we can really create an emotional legacy for the next generations. I work with this very rare technique called new decision therapy that goes through a forgiveness process that's laser focused and will release that trapped emotion. My book, The Cycle Breaker, will show you a roadmap and a blueprint on how to begin that journey.
Well, welcome everyone to another Mindful Monday. And I want to thank you all for joining us today and making us a part of your mindfulness and self-care journey. Today, we have with us the brilliant mind behind Soul Science LLC, and her journey is just short of extraordinary. So, born in the Cold War of Berlin as a, apologize. Hang on, I have technical difficulties right now.
At least it's not just me.
No, it is not. It is not just you. I apologize. Okay, here. It is Monday, right? So, okay. Anyway, her journey was nothing short of extraordinary. Born in the Cold War, Berlin, as a highly sensitive child, she grew up in a world that often is overlooked with its emotional nuances. But rather than letting that define her, she has asked the hard questions about suffering, justice, and the human experience. And today she's the powerhouse of transformation. And I am so glad that we have her with us here because she has combined the decision therapy.
New decision therapy.
New decision therapy with holistic practices. And she really helps to create the she helps creative and neurodivergent individuals break free from trapped emotions. So please help me welcome Christina Heike.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you, Christina. It's just been one of those days.
Listen, this whole thing is a human experience. This included. Like, who are we kidding? Like, I'm so glad we're doing this without too much like fluff and pretense. So
no, it is real. It is authentic, and we all right. We all have those days, and it's been a day, but
absolutely.
You've been on such an amazing journey. Can you share with us a little bit about your journey and how you got to where you are today?
Yes. Thank you for that great question. I'd love to. The interesting thing, and I want to put a hook right in there, is you say it was an amazing journey. Of course, to me, it didn't feel like that necessarily. And I want to point that out because many of our listeners might think, my childhood was kind of okay, like I didn't had like a huge trauma or like, yeah, I didn't feel really loved. And I always heard I'm too sensitive. I'm not good enough. I feel kind of like I'd rather hide than show up. I'm, not quite comfortable in my skin. And those are all signs of like what is called the little trauma. I don't like to use that word, but it basically creates like chronic PTSD instead of that one or a few really harsh events that are tremendously like everyone knows you had trauma.
Mm-hmm.
It's like steady drop. people often don't recognize it as trapped emotion, or I call it trauma blocks. Sorry, something in my throat.
No, you're okay. And I think that's one of the reasons why, kind of resonated with me as well, is because I was also another one of those people that everybody said, oh, you're too sensitive. You need a tougher skin,
And
and
get over yourself, and can't you do it as everyone else is doing it? Like, what's going on, right?
yeah.
So, and so in that sense, I never felt like it was an amazing journey, or an outstanding journey, right? And so if any of our listeners feel the same, like, take a listen, because there might be more in it for you to uncover within yourself, and to make your life easier and actually more fulfilled, more meaningful. So all that said, I lived or was raised in West Berlin, which was, interestingly, the wall was around West Berlin. Most people think of the Berlin Wall as, it's kind of, the East was walled in, which is true too. But West Berlin was that little piece within that big socialistic other part of Germany. What is it in English? DDR in like, that's how. um, but you know what I'm saying. And yeah, I have a brother. My parents were together until my father died early this year, so like 60 plus years or something. And they didn't have a very, in my recollection, happy marriage. Like, quite the opposite. And I was the one, as the more sensitive one, and creative. I was the one who kind of always picked up on it and tried to make peace. And that put me right into the enemy lines, sort of, between my father and mother. And and I felt the repercussions. And my brother, for example, he was, I think, we were about, like, our late teens, when he's like, oh, I think mom and dad love each other. I looked at him like, where were you those last 18 years or 20 years? Really? They hate each other, right? But for him, it didn't register, and I felt it strongly. And that, in combination with kind of being the black sheep or scapegoat in the family, and the one that always was a little different, also too slow when to get ready, to this, to that, right?
Hmm.
Always got yelled at, or, like, I mean, at that time, hitting a kid was totally in the norm. Um, so I pretty early felt like this is not feeling good. I felt really lonely and isolated, uh, while everyone else was at home with me, right? And
Right.
I I think starting around 9 years old, I started to spend more time at our neighbor's house than at home, because they actually wanted to talk with me, and it felt like they liked me and wanted to converse and have me around. I didn't feel that at home, right?
Right.
And, all of that, in my upcoming book, you will hear more about it, because, of course, my parents were both overwhelmed, emotionally not equipped, like, as a post World War II generation. Like, they were children in the Second World War, and had all these traumatic experiences connected with the war in Germany. So they had a lot to carry, right? So they did
Right.
the best they could, but it was very hurtful to me. And so, bit by bit, I, like, with the pains I felt emotionally, and then also physically, I would have, like, tremendous physical pains. I began, like, an exploration. And the first the first stepping stone was in church school, when I was, like, preteen teen. We had a amazing pastor, and she brought in yoga and natural skincare and breathing work and all of that. And so at the age of 12, I started with all these things and found value and found relief in them. And so bit by bit, I discovered more and more tools to help heal, from that emotional and, as I said, physical pain that I was feeling. And I don't know how much more detail I should give.
No,
And the broad stroke, it brought me into the studies I did. I studied education of psychology and special education and science of sports. That all is about the mind-body connection as well. And met my first spiritual teacher when I was 17. That was a huge impact and is a huge, I don't even want to say huge part of my life. That is life in my understanding, right? We're spiritual beings who have a human experience here and are here to learn and hopefully grow and build more capacity and have more insight so that we have a life that also has a ripple effect out to others and is beneficial, not just for us, but for our community and the world at large.
yeah,
Our children.
yeah, and our children. But I guess that's the part where I thought was just kind of amazing or incredible, because you were actually a very young age when you started to recognize that or started to find other modalities. I didn't put a lot of it together until like way later, in my life, because it was just kind of like trying to continually fit a mold, that someone else that thought you should be.
Right.
It hadn't dawned on me until like recently when I started communicating with more people, and I kept hearing them starting to say, it's like, wait a minute, I was always told I was too sensitive. I was always, and all of a sudden things start clicking and you start putting pieces together. But that was like many, many years ago. So that's kind of the part that I was just truly amazed about, is the fact that you were in tune to that or sensitive to that or realized that at an earlier age.
In some ways, yes, and in others, no, right? In the ways that I was in tune, that I needed to find different tools and different ways of being with all what was happening and with my emotions. I think it took like probably 10 more years to realize, oh, this might be trauma, right? I didn't have the words for it, like for what I felt. And I would even say I went like through quite a phase where I was pretty bold and had a big mouth and kind of was like, like I had what we would now call like quite a good kind of mask and was like seemed to be very okay. Um, or maybe even a tad narcissistic, right? Like my father was. So, and then I dug deeper and deeper, with the spiritual journey, my first therapy, the studies, and going to naturopath school, all the things that I've learned. I've learned so many different things, and yeah, really like one other crystallizing point for me was difficulties in decision making. I had tremendous difficulties to make decisions. So, as had my father, my my father could be in a restaurant looking at a menu and not being able to decide for what dish he wants to eat, right? And I had that too. Like it got better and better the more I healed. So the impact on the decision making abilities of a person due to trauma is immense. So
Yeah.
that's also a sign of that you have. I don't want to say that you had trauma, right? And that there are trapped emotions. Like I want to also with my work just be like very clear that trauma doesn't have to be like the being in a war zone or like like these or being held at gunpoint or assaulted. It can really be like looking fairly normal in your childhood, and because you have a more sensitive setup, you're also more prone to get wounded.
Yeah. So when you were talking about the decision making, did you find you were going through a phase where you needed somebody else's approval, or you always had to run it by somebody first, or did you find yourself second guessing yourself, or just?
Well, those two are true too.
Mhm.
But what I'm referring to is that I couldn't even really feel what I wanted truly. Right? That like in the book, there's a story that I tell about my early 20s. I had a boyfriend, he lived an hour away by car, and I wanted to drive to see him. And then in the car, I was not so sure anymore. And I used this as an experiment for me to really be like, do I want to go or not? And to feel again and again. And this half-hour drive took me an hour and a half, because I would start and stop and start and stop depending on what I felt, because I couldn't
Right.
figure it out. Right. So I needed to kind of act it out. And when I finally arrived at his house, I was like, I think I'm good. And I turned around and went back home. But that extreme, right?
Yeah. That sounds very debilitating.
Do I want to go out? Do I not want to go out? Like in like, if you like smaller examples, what do you want to eat? Like, do you want to meet this person? Do you not? Like, there's so many things we constantly have to make decisions all day long. And do I go on a trip? Do I not go? Do I like, right? We're often so back and forth with things, and kind of override what we really feel because we are conforming, right? That's what you mentioned.
Yeah.
And to dig a little deeper and get more connected. Like, the core of my work is really about connection. That's the goal, to really fully connect your feelings and thoughts, your heart and brain, and spirit, so that you're in tune and aligned and work as a team, as a unit, right?
Yeah, definitely where you can at least function better, because what you're describing sounds very debilitating, and
Yeah,
hard to get through things.
yeah. It wasn't fun.
No,
No, for sure.
no. Was there a pivotal moment in there that just really sparked your interest in emotional healing?
Um, not really. There
No.
were so many like constant moments of, that's what I need to focus on. It's as if God was shouting like, here, look at this. And there were so many moments. Yeah, I could tell you 10 off the top of my head, right? And
Right.
I think I was born into that family with the role of the peacemaker, but that kind of constantly got into the into the middle and into that friction, and that kind of set me up to wanting to help people find more peace inside, and also more peace
Yeah. So
and
it sounds
harmony
like
around
the your journey through all the different modalities and stuff was helping you heal along the way as
Oh,
well.
absolutely, absolutely. The
Yeah.
goal was, and that was happened like in my, I think, early 20s, first therapy. I was realizing I was repeating behaviors, and I'm like, what on earth? I know that better, and still things like I would repeat behaviors. So just knowing it didn't do enough, right? So
Right.
reading all the books and all the whatever self-help books, great information, but if it doesn't translate into like you embodying it, you being able to act accordingly, it's like neither here nor there. So that I discovered early in my early 20s, and I was like, put me on a mission to look for something that gets to the root of those things, that is really able to palpably shift something inside of me. And that was a journey. That's what I was looking for. And everything did a little bit, but not the real deal. And I found that in new decision therapy in the late 90s, when I met Dr. Candice Blakely, who had created that modality.
Hmm.
And that made the difference that I was looking for. That really freed me up. And uh, there was so much of burden that I didn't even exactly know how much it was, right? That kind of left me and freed me up to really create a meaningful life for myself.
Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit more what new decision therapy is? Because that's, at least for me, that's a fairly new term. But you were saying it's been around since the 90s, but that's not one I've ever heard of. So,
For some reason or another, it has not become really famous. And so let's make it famous so that people can access it, because I think it brings true healing. It truly releases those caught up emotions. And she wrote her first book, The Body Remembers, 1992. I think she was way ahead of her time. So, like
mhm.
the Bessel van der Kolk that came out, like I think what 2012 or something, like The Body Keeps Score. That is a like one of the Bibles about trauma. Uh, talks about the connection of mind and body and emotions and all of that. She already had that in 1992, right?
Wow.
Like
Mhm.
talking about how trauma sits on in the body on a cellular level, and that's also where we need to release it, and so on. Um, New decision therapy is a laser focused forgiveness process, 5-step forgiveness process. It works with muscle testing. So we're really asking the body where the trauma sits. We're asking it with muscle. I don't know if you're familiar with muscle testing
I
for
know
the,
that yeah, when
yeah.
you ask and
So
there's different, I've seen people do different things, but
you
please
can use
explain.
different muscles. Like usually, like you put your arm out and someone tries to push it down, and that way, if it's weak or strong, it gives you a certain answer to the question. And so you can also test allergies, and you can test medicine and all of that through it. If you don't have an experience with it and think that sounds crazy, that's what I thought too when I heard it first. But like after 3 decades using it, I'm like, wow. And actually, 3 decades ago, even my dentist was already using it to check which kind of gold fillings were good for me. I was like blown away.
Wow.
So yeah, so you tap, like you ask the body's, the emotional system, like which way you trace it down. It's like detective work. We're finding the people involved in creating the trauma. We're finding the time frame of it. Often we find the exact situation, and then we go in the mirror and do mirror work to release that trauma. I guide my clients through this 5-step forgiveness process that, in combination with the mirror, goes really deep and shifts that block that through trauma has been created, and releases it.
Yeah, I would imagine it does, because I know a lot of people that are suffering from traumas or different things don't even like to look in the mirror or use the mirror. So I would think that that's
Yeah,
probably a big part of that.
yeah. And the forgiveness process, the way she has really created that, is powerful, and it is really a work of becoming more and more conscious, right? Because our trauma blocks are kind of like subconscious, and we kind of can't fully connect with them. And so this brings it up one blockage at a time. And since we're asking our own system which blockage comes first to be released, it's very safe and organic. So that's something I also love about that process. It sounds maybe complicated. It's pretty straightforward. It is a technique that has a real system in it. So each session, a blockage will be released, and so you can, like onion principle, work your way into the core. And at the core, it's about self forgiveness.
Wow. Can you share with us maybe some of the experiences and stuff that you've seen or how it's helped people?
So one that's almost like, yeah, funny to me because obviously, since I'm asking the person's body, I'm not the one dictating which blockage is coming up, or like, I'm not determining it. So
Hmm.
I had one person that had a writer's block since she wrote her dissertation over half a year. She couldn't write a word, and we had one session, and she finished her thesis. So that was really like that blew me away. um, Usually we need more time, ideally 3 to 6 months with weekly sessions to really shift something deeply. And yeah, I have seen people stay in relationships they thought they couldn't because they were so hurt. I've seen one of my clients, she wanted to, like, when I met her, open a cafe, move in with her then boyfriend, and in the course of the work she really realized that wasn't a good fit. And they broke up, and she started studying, and she became like a social worker. Like, so a whole big
Hmm.
shift from a cafe, and which also is a beautiful dream, but she wanted to do something more meaningful than that. Yeah, so she got more connected. And this client, actually, she also sent two of her daughters to me afterwards to work with me. Yeah, they had lost their father relatively early, and so there was a lot of trauma through grief.
Yeah.
So a lot of trauma is tied into grief for me. uh, even not getting the love that you wanted from your parents is deeply connected to like a grieving process.
Yeah. Yeah. That which makes complete sense. How
Mhm.
would you say your background as a highly sensitive individual shape your approach to healing others?
Hmm. That's a wonderful question. I think it's really making me walk alongside my client instead of talking at them or telling them what to do, or being, I mean, I am the expert, but then I'm just a human walking with another human, and giving the support that they need without them feeling less than, right? Because
Mhm.
I've experienced it, and many of my clients have shared it, that they go to therapy and they feel like they're kind of looked down upon somewhat. And yeah, and I think that's something that has for sure shaped the way I approach the work I do.
Yeah, I think unfortunately that stops a lot of people from getting help is because they're worried about being judged and what, other people think and what does that say about them if they have to go to that. But really, I would argue to say that makes you stronger, makes you a bigger person because you know something, you need help or support, and you know that something needs to be, I wouldn't say necessarily fixed, but released, so that you can live a healthier life.
I think you're pointing something out there, right? If you feel something is not quite right, and that doesn't mean mental illness. It's just kind of like, it's like you don't feel quite right internally, right? It's you might overeat, you might have a screen addiction, like because you just want to distract yourself instead of being with yourself, right? So those are signs that there are emotions
Mhm.
that needs tending to. I think maybe that's an easier way of even phrasing it, and not talking about trauma. There are emotions that need tending to. And so there's another modality that I kind of created over the years. I call it inner family communication. And that's really getting in touch and talking with these disenfranchised part of ourselves, like with that girl that was always told, you're too much, you're too sensitive, shut up.
Yeah.
Yeah. And to kind of um, put a hand out to her and say, come, like, let's go. I need you too to be fully myself, right? Because none of these parts go anywhere. It's not that we could ignore an emotion and be rid of it. It's not how it works. And any emotion we numb the more we numb, we also numb the happy emotions. There's no way of just numbing being sad or just numbing being angry, right? Like
Right.
if you numb yourself, you're also not as happy, and your life doesn't have as many colors and yeah, happy moments.
Yeah. Yeah, it's always important. You have them all, right? But you can't, what you're basically saying is you can't choose what you want to pile down and focus on the others. Because if you don't release that trauma, it's going to surface or show up in your body one way or another, either in pain or illness, something.
100%. That's almost like another point you're making, right? Like I was just saying, like if you try to ignore like your feelings and be like, oh, I just kind of push them down and distract myself like with whatever I'm doing in my life, and don't like pay attention to that there's something
Mm-hmm.
saying, excuse me. Yeah.
Yeah.
um you're gonna numb all your emotions. So yes, you might not feel your sadness so much, but you will also not feel your happiness much, right? So it's
Right.
it's it's like that. It's kind of that internal logic. If we suppress emotions, then all of them are a little suppressed and dulled. That was the point I tried to
Mm-hmm.
make, to motivate people to
Yeah.
start doing something. If you want to feel more joy in your life and more aliveness, really, like you need to start turning inward, tending to those emotions that have been kind of pushed aside. And your point is excellent, because yes, those pushed down emotions, the suppressed emotions, can create illnesses, physical illnesses. And what was the other point you made? The second point. Um,
Oh, just yeah. I mean, basically, your aches, pains. It creates it creates physical illnesses, and I think it also helps hold people back, also too,
oh yeah.
from not doing the things that they were meant to do, or being, being truly who they are or meant to be, or succeeding, or whatever they're trying to do. I think it keeps them kind of on a struggle bus.
Absolute struggle bus. Good point. And it's almost like if you have too many windows open on your computer, they all kind of pull on the battery, right?
Hmm.
Like subtly, but like they all do. So similarly, all these emotions that we suppress, they kind of pull on our battery, on our energy, on our life force. And if we can pacify them and really fully integrate them, it's like so much more energy there to do life, to do what we want to do, to create what we want to create.
Yeah.
Yeah, more energy for our family, for our spouse, for our children, for finding work that we actually find meaningful, and having the energy to potentially change to a different profession if we discover that that's not quite what we want to do. That all requires energy. Yeah,
Yeah. And sometimes that gets very scary for people too, to make those
absolutely. Yeah.
changes.
Change is scary. That's why sometimes people choose to rather suppress their emotion than looking more deeply, because it's a bit scary.
Yeah.
And I'm here to report that all my clients are really, really grateful to themselves that they did that, because it brought them closer to themselves, like becoming your own best friend, having your own bag, instead of looking for that too much on the outside. So
Yeah.
many of the sensitive people also get into relationships with narcissists because they're codependent. They're so much putting their attention on the other person that they're willing to kind of uh, forget their own needs, right? And that makes a codependent relationship also not really healthy in the long run.
No, it's not. And I suppose it's pretty challenging. You work a lot with creatives and neurodivergent individuals as well. What would you say are the challenges, some of them, that they face when it comes to emotional healing?
I wonder if they have more. I'd say their incentive is higher, because, like, as a highly sensitive, for example, the way I envision is like, let's say you're neurotypical, not highly sensitive, you have that bandwidth of emotions, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you're highly sensitive, you have, it's out of the screen, I think, you have a much wider bandwidth, which means you have to balance much more, right? If your emotions can swing wider, you can feel deeper, you
Mm-hmm.
have to balance more. So that's the challenge of the highly sensitive. And if you heal your trapped emotions and childhood stories, that becomes your superpower, because that broader bandwidth lets you create, like be much more creative. Like those people are often the artists, the people who do make new inventions, who bring new viewpoints into different sciences and so on. So it's not just like an aloof concept. It's,
Right.
these are the people who are the change makers in many ways. And but for that, you also need to become a cycle breaker, as I call that. You know, you need to be someone who rolls up your sleeves and says, "Okay, I wanna make a difference. I wanna feel at peace within me, and really make that deep feeling capability a superpower."
Which brings us to your book that you have coming out called The Cycle Breaker, right?
It's called the Cycle Breaker's Gift.
Gift, The Cycle Breaker's Gift. Yes.
Yes, right.
Yes. So what inspired you to write that, and what can people expect from the book?
Basically all of what we spoke about, right? It was inspired by my own journey and by watching people struggle so deeply with their emotions and having so little tools to self-regulate and like emotionally regulate and to heal. Like having my parents in front of me, right? They had no tools. Obviously, it was a different generation,
Mm-hmm.
so we're much more blessed with like a broader variety of therapy approaches and so on. But it's a whole different ball game if we consciously go on this journey. So this is a book that framed by the story with my father, who was my kind of childhood torturer, um, and then how like how it developed, how it changed and shifted up to the day when he died, and we really made complete peace. Um, it's framing like all the pieces that I would want people to know in order to go on their own journey, right? So it will talk a bit about trauma. It will talk a bit about highly sensitive, black sheep, scapegoat, the not feeling loved, like this whole kind of baggage that
Mm-hmm.
like comes with being highly sensitive, and walks you through tools for self-regulation. There will be practical tools. There are, I'm talking about new decision therapy. I'm talking about inner family communication. I'm talking about the spiritual aspect of life. And every chapter will have some reflection exercises so that you can begin. Like, I wanted it really to be a marriage of story, science, and inner work for the reader, them like to be able to get the ball rolling.
Yeah. No, I love that when they have stuff and it stops and it helps to give you exercises, because and I love reading all the different self improvement books and stuff. But then sometimes I read them, it's like, okay, wait a minute, what did I just read? And I think when you have those reflections and exercises at the end, it kind of helps it to sink in more. I don't think if you really need work, I don't think it necessarily replaces working with someone,
That's
because that someone can give you, the feedback or the guidance, and it's not just, you playing stuff over in your head.
absolutely, especially if you're new to the whole that whole idea also of self-regulation, of working with your breathing or working with movement, or going into nature, all the things we can do without having to join like something crazy. Yeah. You don't have to join a gym, a yoga center, like all of this. You can start small at home. Like for me, it's really important. Bite size changes are the ones that really incrementally bring you the bigger change. And so the new year is coming up, so people are going to be like all going all out for like, I changed this. Like, let's do small steps, but then like build on them, right? So that we can keep that momentum.
I would love to know what little step you would give them to start with. Because, yes, I know we are coming up on New Year's and everybody likes to do the New Year's resolutions. But I always say, why wait to the New Year's if you know something needs to change? Just do a
Absolutely.
resolution and start changing whenever you need to.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, I think it's just another form of procrastination or,
I
not.
totally, yeah, I totally agree. And again, it's if you begin that internal journey, it's kind of every day has a potential to bring a new insight, a new habit, right?
Mhm.
So I would encourage people to, like, the easiest is really to start with your breath, and one actually it's quite well known breathing exercise, box breathing, right, where you use counting,
Mhm.
because some people might also have difficulty with things that feel too spiritual or something. So this is a pretty straightforward one. You inhale, counting to 4, you hold, counting to 4, you exhale, I say count to 6, make it longer, and then pause for 4, and then inhale for 4. Happy we can do a round here if you want. I don't know
Sure.
how you do your
No, that's fine.
exercise.
I always teach people like deep belly breaths when we talk about, because there's so many people that are not getting the oxygen to their brain. So I always talk about deep
Absolutely.
belly breaths, but I know there's a number of, you would think breathing sounds simple, but over 95% of us do it wrong, because when they're saying deep breath, they're like, and it's like they're trying
That's
to
right.
blow this up.
That's
It's like,
right.
that doesn't expand. But then you've got what, the 787, there's, like you said, the 444, or I've seen people do like deep belly breaths and then just and just,
Yeah.
they have so many different techniques you wouldn't
Oh,
even know.
I mean, as a 4-decade long yoga teacher, I mean, there's so many breathing exercises. Yet, I want to kind of caution people, like, I prefer to do the natural breathing, meaning extending the belly breath, like so that all your like belly, rib cage, tip of your lungs, that all of that gets ventilated, and not so much manipulating the breath too hard, because our breath is tuned into our nervous system, right? Inhale, sympathetic nervous system, exhale, parasympathetic, like, which means inhale activation, exhale relaxation. That's why I want people to simply focus on extending their exhale, however they want to do this. Very easy could be like inhale through your nose and blow it out through your mouth until nothing comes out anymore. One more.
Yeah, it's actually very calming, and if you do it, you can just feel everything just kind of settle
Even
and wash away.
even 3 rounds of in and exhalations like this give you a shift, right?
Mhm.
And so I like to keep it simple. Of course, it's nice if you're so inclined, like, have a comfy spot where you sit, light a candle, like put your hand on your heart or on your belly if your belly breathing is not working properly, um, and take more time to do it. Right. I also love the heart brain coherence exercise, which is really acknowledging that our heart is so much more than just a pump, right? That it has its own, like they also call it the second brain. If you listen to Professor Dr. Greg Braden. So it's quite something, and everything is geared towards just being more okay with yourself, right? And starting to love yourself a bit more each
Yeah.
day, and to like yourself a bit more each day with all that's in there, you know.
Yeah, it really does make a huge difference. Christina, when you work with people, you can work with them online, or do you work with them in person, or a combination of both?
I have developed to work online, especially with what happened in the last 5 years. So I work worldwide online. I've had clients in New Zealand or in Hawaii, like so. So it's and I have also, of course, worked with clients in person. I just yeah, some clients travel to me, and then we have like a 2-day intensive, for example, and work.
So
Yeah.
are they all individual, or do you do groups as well?
Uh, at this point, mostly individual, but there is another upcoming thing that I'm working on, since actually it should have been done 2 years ago, a forgiveness course that is a group process.
Well, so now is your book out or is it coming out?
It's coming out real soon.
Do you have a date yet?
No, no fixed date. Beginning of next year.
Beginning of next year?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that will
the next
definitely
couple
be
of
one to watch for.
next couple of months. And I think it's really, I try to make it very practical, because I think we all are like, we know so much, right? We have like, usually we know so much. We also know what we should do maybe, but then like, what about the practice? And life is about practicing, right?
Hmm.
And that's what I want people to have in that book, like the understanding and the beginning to work with themselves. And some people might have already worked a lot and still not gotten that into that deep level that they wish for. Right, that was me. I had done so many things, but nothing really did it. So when I met Dr. Candice Blakely in the late 90s, she did a presentation where she actually had someone in the mirror and walked them through the process, and I'm like, yeah, sounds good, but like everyone says they're healing trauma, I believe it when I feel it.
Right.
And then I had my first session and I believed it. But I was also really kind of a bit flippant, so I'm glad that she still took me on.
Were you a slight non-believer, or too much in your head, or?
I was very critical because I had done so many things, and I also invite people actually to be very discerning, because now there's even more out than at that time. Like everyone, like they take a 100-hour course and say they're trauma informed. They do like, they learn one thing and think they know everything. Like humility, I think, is really a huge plus for practitioners and therapists and everyone working with other people. um, but then again, we're here to live and learn, and so everyone is on their journey. And so, our listener, you need to find someone that you resonate with, that feels right for you, and you feel safe and well supported, I would say, and trust what you feel.
Yeah, absolutely. That's such a huge part. Now, you also have a YouTube channel, which we will share with everybody. What
Yeah.
can people expect to find on your YouTube channel?
They can expect to find some short videos on for inspiration at this point, and then my forgiveness course will sooner or later be there as well. Um, my YouTube channel is, I would say, humbly still in its baby shoes. So I'm developing it more and more. And being that I'm also coming from that background of not feeling good enough, not really wanting to show up that much, like that is also an exercise to show up more. So just we're
Absolutely.
all on a journey. I'm still on my journey too. So like let's not let's be real with each other. Yeah.
Yeah. We definitely are, and I am so glad that you chose to come on and share your journey and the work that you do, because I think it's important. Everyone needs that support, and the more of us I think that can show up and share that, then the more we can come together and support each other in our journeys.
Yes, absolutely. My vision is really to train practitioners because there are not many practitioners left. Dr. Kenneth Blakely died 2013. And I'm the only practitioner on the East Coast. So it's really, I want to train people. I want it to be accessible for everyone. I would love for it to be clinically trialed also. Let's see if that can be brought into life. And would love to really create nonprofits around that so that, like, children that were abused, that women that were abused, that men that don't feel quite right and not good enough, that we all can find that help, because I'm I'm a believer now after I was like, I know what kind of difference it makes. It's amazing.
Yeah, I think you and I are very similar that way. When it's something that you've lived or you've experienced, and that's something you can more get behind and share, rather than just saying, "Oh, hey, go try this." It's like, yeah, no, it doesn't work that way.
Yeah, and see it in my clients, right? Like relationships improving, it's almost like a crystallizing point, right? I don't make predictions. If someone comes to me with and they have terrible relationship problem, I don't say, oh, we're gonna fix it, or we're gonna, like, you're gonna divorce. Like, we're gonna do the inner work, like
Mhm.
this. And the more you know yourself and really can embrace yourself, things will fall into place. It will become very clear if this partner can, like, you can work it out with that person, or if that's actually a moment to part ways, right? But you will be able to do that from a place of maturity and settledness, and not crazy drama.
Yeah, crazy drama is, I think, does a lot of us in. We got about 2 minutes left, Christina. What do you want to leave everybody with?
I want people to encourage, like to be encouraged to not ignore what they're feeling, but use it almost like God's breadcrumbs, right? You remember the story Hansel and Gretel? Like, you need to find your way. So use it as God breadcrumbs to show you the way. Don't indulge in it, right? Like, there will also, like, an anti-fragility card deck come out together with the book, right? Because we're here to build capacity, not focus on our emotions and become so self-absorbed that we can't do anything else, right? It's build your capacity, make your life easier with building your capacity, make it more fulfilling and enjoyable, because, truth is, we're here for a relatively short time. Let's make it count.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
Well,
please reach out. I'll with the code word Mindful Mondays, I give you a 20-minute free consultation, and then you can just explore a bit and ask me more questions.
so they can do that on through your website, right? When they connect with you. Okay. Wonderful. Yeah, then it can't go wrong with a free consultation, because I know sometimes everybody's not a good fit to work with somebody, but that consultation will give you a good feel to find out if it's going to be a good fit for you or not. And so, but Christina, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your journey. And I love the work that you're doing. I think it's very beautiful. I look forward to seeing your book come out too.
Thank you. Yes, yes. I can't wait. Thank you for having me. Thank you for offering that platform to, hopefully, information and that can help people more.
Oh, you bet. I look forward to seeing that forgiveness course too, because I think there's a lot of us that need that course and need practice in it. I think that there's many people that struggle with that concept.
So many, like, myth and misunderstandings around forgiveness. Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, everybody, I want to thank you for joining us. Christina, thank you so much for being here. I hope you all have a wonderful week. I know this is going to be coming out right before Christmas, so Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. however you celebrate it, I hope you are celebrating it with your family and loved ones, and enjoy the season. And we will see you next week.
Thank you.